You thought COVID vaccines were already controversial? Well, now President Biden plans to vaccinate children as young as 5. The nation is about to erupt. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. Just so you know, YouTube is secretly unsubscribing people, and they're not telling you when new episodes come out. So be sure to check back every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday for new episodes. President Joe Biden wants coronavirus vaccines for every American, including children. He loves the children. Children as young as 12 are already being vaccinated. Many countries have approved vaccinations for children ages 12 and up. But there's a growing push to get younger children vaccinated. Back on October 20th, the Biden administration announced its plan to vaccinate 28 million kids ages 5 to 11, making this the first Halloween where people are encouraging kids to get needles with their candy. And like Halloween candy, these vaccines come in fun sizes, with a lower dose and smaller needles. The formula is also specifically designed for kids. The U.S. isn't the first to push for this. Countries like El Salvador and Chile are already vaccinating children ages 6 and up. The United Arab Emirates and Bahrain are even getting 3-year-olds vaccinated. Cuba is vaccinating 2-year-olds. And as I always say, why can't the U.S. be more like Cuba? And just like everyone else who says this, I have never been to Cuba. The COVID vaccines have been controversial even for adults in the U.S. Vaccinating children as young as 5. Well, I'm sure you can imagine. But you don't have to imagine. I'll tell you more after the break. Welcome back. So giving COVID vaccines to children as young as 5 is controversial. Even though children are much less likely to get COVID, they still can. And in rare cases, die. According to the CDC, about 1.8 million American children between 5 through 11 years old have gotten COVID since the start of the pandemic. And according to the FDA, out of those 1.8 million, about 8,300 children between 5 through 11 years old have been hospitalized with COVID, and 146 have died. According to a Kaiser Family Foundation analysis, COVID has been the 6th leading cause of death among children ages 5 through 14 since August. Number 1 is still clowns in sewers. Why is no one developing an anti-clown vaccine? Get on it, Pfizer. With the more contagious Delta variant of the coronavirus going around, some experts say we can't end the pandemic without vaccinating kids. But other experts are saying we need to exercise caution, which is a shame because Americans are terrible at exercising anything. Lack of exercising is one reason we've got problems with severe COVID. Anyway, the main issue with vaccinating kids for COVID is vaccine safety. According to a pediatric infectious disease specialist at a children's hospital in Switzerland, the more you decrease in age, the more you need data which shows you that this is a safe vaccine. And it's going to be more difficult to collect that data because a 5-year-old is much less likely to tell you, I have a strange feeling in my heart, I don't feel happy today, than a 16-year-old. Now, the U.S. has a whole bureaucratic process for approving vaccines for kids. First, Pfizer and BioNTech completed a 3-phase clinical trial for children ages 5 to 11 and submitted the data to the FDA. Last week, an FDA advisory panel voted 17-0 in support of the vaccines. The FDA itself then authorized extending emergency use authorization for Pfizer's COVID vaccine to younger children. And this week, the Centers for Disease Control Advisory Panel will vote on whether the FDA-approved vaccine should be recommended for all children in the age group or only certain subgroups, such as those who have underlying conditions. That will happen today, November 2nd. Then, CDC Director Rochelle Walensky will decide whether to endorse the advisory panel's decision. Only after all that will the pediatric shots start going out nationwide. One of the biggest issues facing the FDA advisory panel was potential side effects from the vaccines. This includes the risk of myocarditis. Myocarditis is a type of heart inflammation seen in rare instances, usually after the second COVID vaccine shot. In very serious cases, myocarditis can lead to hospitalization, long-term health issues, or death. It is more commonly seen in young men. It's the reason why some European countries limited the use of the Moderna vaccine in younger ages. This was done out of precaution. And the myocarditis risk is also why the FDA is delaying its decision on whether to approve the Moderna vaccine for adolescents. Moderna has a much higher dose than Pfizer, which could lead to more problems with side effects. According to the CDC, though, the risk of myocarditis overall is very small. This CDC study from June found that there were about 40 cases of myocarditis per million in males aged 12 to 29. However, this study in the New England Journal of Medicine found nearly 110 cases per million males aged 16 to 29. Like everything with COVID, different studies are telling us different things, which makes it difficult to create public policy. Nah, I'm kidding. The government can just force people to do stuff. And this is the issue. The CDC and the Biden administration are already inclined to favor mass vaccinations. But some people will still be skeptical, even if CDC studies show people with COVID are 16 times more likely to get myocarditis than people without COVID, suggesting getting vaccinated is still the better choice. Because when it comes to the health of their children, parents are especially concerned. I'll have more on that after this final break. Welcome back. There are health risks, sometimes very serious ones, associated with any vaccine. But with most vaccines, those risks are much lower than the disease itself, which is why people get vaccinated. Still, a lot of parents who were eager to get the coronavirus vaccine themselves aren't so sure about vaccinating their children. A Kaiser Family Foundation survey this month found that 3 in 10 parents say they will definitely not get their 5 to 11-year-old vaccinated. To which I say, great, more fun-sized vaccines for me. In the survey, parents' leading concern was that not enough is known about the long-term effects of the vaccine in children. Side effects were a close second. Though if you're concerned about the long-term effects, that's probably because you think there might be side effects, so it's kind of the same thing. But it's not just parents who have concerns. Medical experts are divided.
I don't think children should be vaccinated for COVID. I'm a huge fan of vaccinating children for measles, for mumps, for polio, from rotavirus, and many other diseases. It's absolutely critical. But COVID is not a huge threat to children. They can be infected, just that they can get the common cold. But they're not a big threat. They don't die from this, except in very rare circumstances.
And so that's another thing. Children rarely die from COVID, but it happens. So some say we need to get them vaccinated. However, people who are vaccinated in some rare incidents get myocarditis. But that's rare, so you should go ahead and get your children vaccinated. You see how logic does kind of a loop-de-loop? And in some cases, not just parents, not just medical experts, but even entire countries aren't too keen on vaccinating children under 12. France's public health chief said, "We are not in favor of vaccinating children for a variety of reasons, because we lack the scientific data, because research is still in progress. The priority is to vaccinate adolescents over 12 years old." Great. So France is just going to surrender their children to the coronavirus. According to a French epidemiologist, one reason France is not as keen to vaccinate kids as the US is that the risk to kids is lower in France. The risk of hospitalization for an infected child in the US is 10 times higher than for a child in Western Europe. Why? He cited the prevalence of pre-existing conditions like obesity and diabetes in the US. I guess even American kids are terrible at exercising anything. But France isn't the only country that's cautious about vaccinating kids under 12. While the UK recently approved a single dose of the COVID vaccine for 12 through 15-year-olds, they have not approved vaccines for younger kids. Although this, of course, is subject to change depending on whatever new data comes out. The push for vaccinating kids may potentially save lives, but it raises a whole bunch of ethical questions. Even if Biden gets the go-ahead to vaccinate children, he's going to have to contend with states and local school decisions that don't agree with him. He's also going to have to contend with tensions between parents' authority over their children versus the government's. And with state governments, like California, making vaccinations mandatory for K through 12 students, you can bet that we're going to see more parents and officials getting angry at each other, with children in the crossfire. So what do you think? Leave your comments below. And if you like this show, please know we could not do it without direct support from viewers like you. Visit patreon.com/AmericaUncovered and contribute $1 or more per episode to help us keep the show going. So click the link below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.